In the session this morning, we had a very positive outlook of what is happening in Latin America, and I tend to agree with that. On the macro side, there is no doubt that the last 3 years, and perhaps we'll have some few ahead of us, have been very good in terms of growth, in terms of inflation, in terms of external accounts. In fact, have been the best years that Latin America has had in macro terms in the last 30 years. But here comes the question. This growth can be considered satisfactory? Is sustainable? Is it because we have done a good job internally, or is the fact that others have done a good job, like the Chinese, in the US, in Japan? I think it's a combination of factors. So instead of being complacent, I would say, I think it's very important that this good scenario should be taken as a very good and nice window of opportunity to make substantial structural adjustments so that we try to tackle the following issues. The first one is to reduce the external gap. The second one, to reduce the internal. What's the external gap? Although we are very happy with the 4%, 5% growth, well, let's ask how the other sectors are doing. Asia is growing at 7%, 8%, the Chinese at 10%. Let me give you figures. In 1980, GDP per capita of Latin America in purchasing power parity indicators represented 36% of the GDP per capita of the OECD countries. Today, it represents 25%. On the other hand, the Asian countries represented at that time 5%. Today, they represent 18%. So, that figure indicates very clearly that we have to work very hard so that we try to reduce those. And the internal gap, of course, income distribution and poverty are the two issues that are central in the region. What does one think about this? I would say that what we are trying to promote is a renewed agenda, which is centered, and this is very important, is centered on the principle that if you want to close these gaps and fight poverty and improve equality in the region, there is no solution that does not pass through the fact that you have to have high rates of growth and good quality growth. It means productivity should be higher, employment should be created, environmental issues should be considered. And in this context, there is no other way to grow than to have two elements that are very crucial and perhaps are three lessons in our part of the time. One, you have to have higher investment. We cannot be satisfied with the investment rate of Latin America. We're investing just 20% of GDP. With 20% of GDP, you can expect to have high rates. You have to foster a mode of investment that at least will reach you to 25%. And secondly, you have to increase productivity, as was mentioned this morning. Latin America is lagging in productivity and in competitiveness. And the third thing, of course, is you have to look at the world. If you want the world to look at you. So there's no doubt that effort that starts at home. What we don't do by ourselves, let's not expect others to do for us. External funds, external support is complementary, but not the subject for internal level. But at the same time, we have to look at it. And here comes the issue of trade and investment and the relationship between Latin America. I think